Stellar Life, mission log number 237.
If you start with, how can I actually do something that I love, that I have an idea for, but in addition, figure out a way to incorporate helping. That is such a powerful thing that even when there's bad days or a pandemic or, something pops into your life that you can't really control in some way, having consumers say, thank you for helping me. And remember, most of these people I don't know, they're just touched by a product that they enjoy and they smile over. And that's a really, really powerful thing.
Welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. Get inspired and live out loud. From love, freedom, and success to having it all. Here's your host, coach, speaker, and shining star, Orion.
Roger, you're looking good.
Hello and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. This is your host, Orion. Do you have a dream? Do you have a big one? Do you have a really big dream that you really want to achieve? Isn't it wonderful to have dreams? Yet so many people don't follow their heart. So many people have their dream and they think, oh, it's too big, it's too grandiose, and I cannot reach it. So I brought in someone who can share with you how she achieved her dreams, regardless of the naysayers, regardless of how hard it was, regardless of all the people that told her, oh, just give up, this will never happen. And she became a mega success. And her business is incredible. And what's more incredible is herself, her personality. And we all can learn so much from her, especially those of you who are in the middle of following a big dream. You can learn so much from her and get so inspired because she's a very kind person. And this awesome combination of being mega successful and super kind is just really inspiring. And when you have a big dream, with big dreams comes doubts. And the doubts can come from the inside and they can come from the outside. And I think the spiritual test here is to trust your inner guidance, to trust yourself and trust that God, the universe, whatever higher power you believe in, is guiding you toward your success, because I think there is a reason why you have this specific dream. Because your dream is different than someone else's dream. If you receive that download, if you receive that idea, I believe it's because you have the capacity to achieve it. It's just a matter of trusting. Kara Goldin is the founder and CEO of Hint, and it's award-winning Hint Water, the leading unsweetened flavored water, and the author of Undaunted, Overcoming Doubts and Doubters. She is an active speaker and writer and hosts the podcast, The Kara Goldin Show, where she interviews founders, entrepreneurs, and other disruptors across various industries. And now, without further ado, on to the show.
2, 1, 0.
Hey, Kara, and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. It's an honor having you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Before we begin, can you share a little bit about yourself and your passion? How did you get to be the incredible entrepreneur and teacher that you are?
Oh, you're so nice. Well, I call myself an accidental entrepreneur because I didn't plan on being an entrepreneur, but I had this idea for a beverage and really a water that just tasted better because I didn't love the taste of water. I aspired to be a water drinker, but I wasn't because it was just boring. And so I started slicing up fruit, throwing it in water, and I had come off of a huge diet soda addiction that, frankly, I had for years. I didn't even call it an addiction. But when I was trying to get off of it after realizing all of the crazy ingredients that I was putting into my body, then that's when I got a lot healthier. I lost a bunch of weight. My skin which had terrible adult acne for years, suddenly cleared up, and my energy levels went up. And so anyway, lots of aha moments just by giving up something that I thought was healthy and better for me. And then when I started slicing up fruit and throwing it in water, I said, why isn't there this product on the market that just has fruit with water? And everything has some sort of sugar or diet sweeteners in it. And I mean, I frankly kept making excuses for the fact that there was not this product on the market and thinking that I was shopping at the wrong stores or something, and looked everywhere, looked in California, looked in New York, couldn't find it. And that's when I decided, gosh, it'd be really fun to get a product on the market. And it was friends of mine that was saying to me when they heard that I was trying to get a product into my local Whole Foods, they said, that's so cool that you're launching this company. And I said, wait, I'm launching a company? No, I'm just trying to get a product on the shelf at Whole Foods. And it's along those lines. I always tell people, sometimes if you psych yourself out or you make it a lot bigger than maybe you need it to be, you won't actually move. It'll paralyze you in many ways, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was my story, that I started with just this idea that I saw that was kind of helping me get healthier. And I thought if I could actually take that out to lots of other people, then maybe I could help them get healthy too. And that was it. That was the start of it. But I'd worked for entrepreneurial people. I'd worked for a startup that was a spin out of Apple, that was a Steve Jobs idea, that was doing CD-ROM shopping. That's what they called it back in 1995, way long ago. And then prior to that, I had worked for kind of a later stage startup, but still very much a startup, which was, you would know the brand, CNN, and then also worked for America Online. So I've worked, I guess, for different stage startups, as small as 5 people to, thousands of people when I came on board. But more than anything, I think the consistent thread has been disruptive ideas that kind of changed an industry, never anything around health, but one that could help a lot of people in some way. And that was really what I saw in what I was doing it with this product that I had developed in my kitchen.
Wow. Did you ever imagine that you'll become who you are today?
I still am I'm just a consumer, right? I'm a consumer. I'm a mom. I'm having fun every single day. I'm probably busier than I necessarily want to be at times, I guess, is probably the big kind of aha moment. Careful what you wish for, between still running a company and launching a book and still doing a ton of speaking events. And I think for me, though, what really drives me is really helping people. And whether it's with my product Hint Water or some of the extensions that we've done around sunscreen and now the book, the message back from the consumer is, thank you so much. You've really helped me. And that to me is just a really powerful thing, and something that, I like to share with people, especially people who are trying to find their purpose. Because I think if you start with, how can I actually do something that I love, that I have an idea for, but in addition, figure out a way to incorporate helping. And I think it's just such a powerful thing that even when there's bad days or a pandemic or, something pops into your life that you can't really control in some way, having consumers say, thank you for helping me. And remember, most of these people I don't know, right? They're just touched by a product that they enjoy and they smile over. And that's a really, really powerful thing to know that I founded it and I'm running that company.
That's amazing. So you said your friends were so happy for you to launch it on Whole Foods, but this was not an easy journey, because you got many, many no's. And
Totally.
so much rejection. For me, like the biggest thing for me is fear of rejection. So how did you handle that?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I think the more you get rejected and you sort of stand up and pick yourself back up, right? And brush yourself off, however you want to visualize that, the easier it gets. And instead of thinking they don't want me, they don't want my product, whatever, you instead think they're not ready for it. And they just don't really understand it in some way. And again, sometimes that can be truly you haven't explained it properly, or they just don't need it in their life. I mean, even I started Hint 15 years ago, and I think about this a lot, especially through, the last year of, the challenging times that we're all in, that the consumer, the one industry, well, a couple of industries have sped up, but certainly health has sped up over the last year. People are focused on it, right? And whether that's finding a vaccine or trying not to get sick or wearing a mask or whatever that is, right? I think people are looking at ways that they can take control of the situation, right? And making sure that they get healthy, stay healthy, whatever. I've been saying for the last 15 years that if you actually just look at what you're drinking overall and start drinking water, and it should be clean water, which is a whole other topic, but I think that is the start for so many people, that if they start drinking water, they will feel better and they will start getting healthy. I mean, lots of times when, for example, you're really tired, you think, and you're just like, I don't know, understand. I mean, dehydration can actually cause you to be tired or just not really feel well.
I feel thirsty as we speak.
Yeah. And so I wish I could give you a hint. I have actually our new 1 liter bottles that are launching next week.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Congratulations.
That I'm drinking. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a category that I think has definitely come to focus. But, frankly, 15 years ago when I launched and I was saying, I gave up diet soda and I'm drinking water and got healthier, people would say, wait, diet? What's wrong with diet? And slowly over the years, I think more and more people have focused on it, gotten the memo, whatever. But 15 years ago,
it must be so hard to be the first one to say, like, listen, this is not good for you. And people are so...
It is.
They're brainwashed. They've been told over and over again that this is really good for them and it's diet. And they see all those beautiful models with their wavy hair drinking the Diet Coke and feeling amazing. So this is the image. Like it's subconsciously, it's like, this is the best thing ever. Why would I drink water?
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, everything that you said. And plus, I feel, this is not just true in the beverage industry and in my company, but in any industry. I always share with entrepreneurs when they tell me, the idea that I have, there's nothing like this out there. And, it's the thing that I've realized, because that was me 15 years ago, was that when you're launching a new company, that is one thing, right? But you're launching a company in an industry and no one's ever done it. So an unsweetened flavored water, that's a new category. And so the problem with new categories is that while you may be the only one there, if you're reliant on a buyer in a store, for example, to put it on the shelf, or you're reliant in the consumer actually purchasing it, you are at their mercy and they need to be educated. And so how do you get the consumer educated or the buyer at the stores educated? You have to have money, right? To go out and market it. And that is the challenge. And I also think that you can't buy your way into educating people either, because I think consumers want to discover it. So I was just sharing this story with somebody the other day. We had a huge opportunity early on with Walmart. And we are in Walmart now. We're in Sam's Club. We're in all stores across the US. But I had made a very conscious decision not to start out in Walmart, not because I didn't like Walmart or, was being like snobby about it in any way, but I didn't believe that brands are developed in Walmart.
Yeah, you can say that again. Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're not developed in there. That's not to say that when you grow up, and once you have other distribution, but there's an order that goes into play in when you have a consumer product and you're the kind of product like we are. If you start out in someplace like Walmart, the consumer, it's not a place where they go for trial, and they may not know that. But it's something that I've realized over the years, and I've cautioned against it to entrepreneurs. But I think it's really important because I just see these brands just die, and they get an initial order that's great because there's lots and lots of Walmarts, but it's not a place where the consumer really wants to experience it.
Yeah. You're playing a longer game.
It's a longer game. And again, the initial to have POs for millions of dollars, I mean, it's amazing, right? But all of a sudden you're sitting there, and that's not the place where the consumer is going to come. They want to have discovered it at Whole Foods and then see it at Walmart or Target and then see it at Walmart. And so we finally decided, actually, we knew at the end of 2019 that we were going into Walmart in early 2020. And it was, it was going to be a really big year. But a lot of people said, oh, why did you decide to go in there? And really, there were two reasons. And the brand was ready. And there's many places across the US that they don't have access to Whole Foods or even Target. Walmart is the store in a lot of these smaller towns, right, across America. And we're also available online at Amazon and on our own site at drinkhint.com. But I think just Walmart in particular, the other thing that I realized is that if I really want to give everyone access to better tasting water, then these are communities where this is the store that they shop at, and they should be able to have access to it. So many people have said to me, oh, to actually get healthy and have better for you products that you would buy at Whole Foods, for example, it's just so expensive, for access to some of these, deserts, right, that they call out there that just don't have access to that. And I said, it just depends. I mean, Hint is not, you can get it at Walmart for, in most days, like $1 a bottle. It's not outrageous, and it's a great product, and it's the same product that you would get at Whole Foods. So anyway, that's on a probably different topic, but I think it's one that's interesting.
Yeah. So what was the journey of getting from a no to yes, definitely yes?
Well, I think that the key thing was early on, I felt that, I was getting a lot of no's, and, my book that just came out is called Undaunted, Overcoming Doubts and Doubters. And I talk about, just being human, and how even though I had come from, I had been running AOL's e-commerce and shopping partnerships. And even though I had come from a place of, I was a senior executive, and I was one of the few females actually at the time at sort of that level. And it was a great job in tech. I was there early and sort of saw the hockey stick, and I really enjoyed it. I was on an airplane way too much. I'd started my family and had 3 kids under the age of 4 when I left.
Oh my God.
I know, it was crazy. And I thought, I got to go home for a little while and just, be, right? And so I did that for a couple of years, and then I was ready to get back into work and do something outside of the house. And that's when I had this idea for Hint, when I decided to get healthier. But it was interesting because as I was going out and I was putting myself out there trying to learn this industry, because I didn't know this industry. I hadn't been in beverages. And so when you do that, I mean, maybe they don't say the word no, but they're saying things like I was asking the questions, how do I get a product on the shelf at Whole Foods? And some people would talk to me, some people wouldn't talk to me. And because it was obvious I didn't have experience, I'm asking kind of dumb questions, right? And so that is, you're in a place where you do feel uncomfortable. And again, call it no, call it having doubts. You know, you've got your doubters around you. But what I found was that somewhere in there, the more you started asking questions, you would run into people who would be helpful. And then you would run into kind of success stories, little glimpses, right? And that's why people have always said to me big statements like never look back. And I've always kind of felt uncomfortable about that statement because I've thought, I don't know, if you look back, you can actually learn a lot of things about what you've accomplished. And so those no's, I absolutely did get them. But how about instead looking at the opportunity to really look at the fact that maybe there were some no's that, I mean, there's always going to be no's. There's always going to be people that are going to kind of tell you that you're never going to be able to be successful, but also prove them wrong. And part of the reason why I came out with this book too was not to sort of tell my story of woes, but also to share that, I mean, Hint is the largest non-alcoholic beverage in the country, that it does not have a relationship with Coke, Pepsi, or Dr. Pepper Snapple. I mean, that's a big deal. And we started from nothing, and I didn't have the experience. And so my hope was in writing this book was really to share with people and let them hear my stories of successes and some failures and learnings along the way, and know that, gosh, if she can do it, maybe I can do it too. And that was really my purpose.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So necessary. You know, a long time ago, I arrived to New York and I studied at the neighborhood Playhouse School of Theater. And I studied there for 2 years. I was very lucky because back in the days, they only accepted a small percentage to the second year. And I did the first year and the second year. And I was so excited to be the next Angelina Jolie or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like auditions were so hard for me. And because I'm from Israel back then, I think my accent was a little thicker. Still, you can hear it, but back there a little thicker. And casting directors told me, well, you know, where you are, where you're from, maybe the biggest role you can play will be a terrorist. And I believed them. I believed that I was too old. I was 26 at the time. I believed that I was too old. I believed that I'm, you know, because where I'm from, I won't be able to land a major role. And so I eventually gave up. I didn't do what you did, which was to just block it and follow your dream. In retrospect, it put me on a different path for my life. And now I'm a coach and I'm helping people. So I'm fulfilling my purpose in a different way. But there is always this little sensation of like, what if I didn't give up? What if I kept going? And now the funny thing is Wonder Woman is Israeli, and Wonder Woman is the iconic American superhero, and she's Israeli, and she's got a thick Israeli accent.
Yeah.
And she changed their reality. I am telling you, she manifested her reality so beautifully. So on the first movie, the cast had to learn her accent. All the Amazons had to learn the way she speaks so they will sound like her. This will be the accent of Wonder Woman.
I love it. I love it.
So I'm looking at that and I'm like, wow. And I've done things in my life that I'm looking back and I'm like, yeah, this would never have happened if I didn't really believed in my dream, like manifested my husband or manifesting my child. Doctors still gave me just 5% chance to conceive, and I just worked with the creator and I decided for myself, this is going to be 95%. And now I have this beautiful boy. He's 1 year and 4.
Oh,
yeah.
Congrats.
So I understand what it is to follow your dream. But you know, for those dreams of manifesting my man and my child, it was like, I think when the desire is so strong, you just block all the noises outside and you say, no, this is what I want. And I think God puts dreams in our minds because we have the possibility to fulfill them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the other piece that I always say to people is sometimes when you're in challenging times or you look at, you got to the US because you thought you were going to do this theater program and, there were messages that came at you and then you made decisions to do something else, but then you also met your partner, right? Yeah. And would you have met them?
No, probably not. Mm-mm.
Right? And I always think about those things and whether it's related to a spouse or whether it's related to a job or whatever. And one of the stories that I share in the book actually is about a story involving Hint, where we got into a bunch of Starbucks stores and we got into 11,000 Starbucks stores, which was very exciting and something that we had been looking forward to. And then after 6 months, we had asked them going into the relationship, what was success? And so we felt like we had done our homework and had all the goals and, something to strive towards. And within 6 months, we hit those goals. And then 1.5 years into the relationship, we're doing great, almost triple what we were supposed to be doing. Then we got the email from the new buyer and it said that we were being removed from the stores and in 2 weeks. And so I said, there must be some misunderstanding. We are excelling and, definitely doing great. And so why are we getting removed? And they said, we're really sorry. I mean, we understand that you've been doing really well, but unfortunately, we're going to put something else into the case that has a higher ring and a higher margin. And so we'll make more money off of it, sandwiches and salads. And so somewhere in there, it made great business sense, right? For them, but not for me. I mean, I had millions of dollars worth of inventory that was going to have to be destroyed because it was going to go bad.
Oh my God.
In my warehouse. And here I had investors and it was bad. It was really bad.
How do you handle stuff like that?
Well, I think it's interesting because when you're in it, right? When you're sitting there in that situation, I mean, I don't cry very often. That was a point when I cried. I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then when I got a hold of myself after a couple of days, I went back to my team and I said, listen, it's bad. I got to figure out what to do with this inventory. I've got to figure out how to talk to my investors about it. I mean, everything about it is bad. But what I will say is that they paid us, on time and over the last 1.5 years, and they exposed us to a lot of customers in places that we wouldn't have been because there's a Starbucks in many, many, every city, right? And so we were very fortunate to be able to have that situation. Now I have to figure out how I could tell those consumers that we're no longer in there and that we're not out of business, right? Because we weren't in very many stores. But then the other piece of it that really kind of hit home and something that I frequently share with entrepreneurs is that 40% of my business was sitting in the hands of Starbucks.
Wow.
And so when I was discontinued,
Ouch.
That was why it hurt, right? If it was 5% of my business, I mean, it would stink, right? But it wouldn't be the end. I mean, this was almost the end. I mean, it was 40% of my overall business it was a huge hit, right? So that is something that I always share with people that, first of all, the fact that it was 40% of my overall business, that was stupid. That was just dumb. Well, why did I allow it to get that big without focusing on other pieces of business to grow? I mean, people have said to me, well, you're not going to hold the business back from growing. I said, no, but you also have to make it a priority to go get other accounts because, they could discontinue. Or in some cases, not Starbucks, but in some cases, you've got a retailer who could go out of business and you don't understand what's going on behind the scenes. It seems like it's doing fine, but that stuff happens, right? And so I think for me, there were so many lessons. One, putting too many eggs in one basket, but then I was just kind of thinking and absorbing and still trying to figure out what to do with my inventory. And then I got a phone call from another Seattle company called Amazon. And Amazon was starting this grocery business. And they said, we really are interested in getting your product in our grocery offerings. And how soon could you get it to us? And I said, well, actually, I have a bunch in my warehouse. I didn't know if I should actually share with him that we had been discontinued from Starbucks when he said to me, oh, I buy a bottle of Blackberry Hint every morning at Starbucks in my building. And I thought, oh gosh, right? And so here's the buyer and who's, a huge fan and a consumer. And that was the moment when I realized I was, first of all, excited to get my product into Amazon. And I probably didn't realize it right then, but about a month later, I caught myself saying, that's why we were in Starbucks, because there was this bigger opportunity.
Right.
There was this bigger possibility.
Right.
And I think that, and I share the story.
It's a beautiful story. But I have a question before you keep going. Did you tell them?
Tell Amazon?
Yeah.
No, I never told him, and he never asked. Actually, he never asked. He didn't say, well, hey, what happened to Starbucks or anything? I don't know. He just maybe he was getting his own supply now that they had it in Amazon. I don't know.
Maybe.
But it's interesting because it was also that moment from Amazon that about a year into the business, we realized that selling on Amazon was great. And it was, we were getting a lot of people were buying it on Amazon and shipping it to their home. But the buyer said to us that he really loved the uniqueness of Hint because the consumer who was buying Hint on Amazon was different than the other beverage offerings that they had, that this consumer was buying like diabetes monitors or healthier products that definitely said that they had this like health halo over them. And I thought that was fascinating. And I said, could you give me some customer emails? Because I'd love to reach out to them. And he said, oh no, Jeff Bezos won't give customer emails. I mean, that's his business. And it was that moment when I realized, even at Starbucks, when I was getting discontinued, that I couldn't reach out to my customer. And then I thought about all the stores, Whole Foods and Target and everybody else who was selling our product and lots of other products, that they actually controlled the relationship with the customer. And so I thought, if I want a relationship with my customer, not only to talk to them and ask them questions about how they're thinking about things and overall, who knew that a pandemic was coming, but, be able to, when stores were challenged or shut down or whatever, I was able to sell directly to them.
That's incredible.
Right? So it's 55% of our overall business today is drinkhint.com. And we're still in, like I said, Walmart, Target, we're in lots of Whole Foods, we're in lots of stores, we're not in Starbucks. But I go back to this point of challenging time because I feel like so often maybe we don't want to talk about these challenging times. Maybe we don't want to share them with people. Maybe it's appropriate to share with people. Maybe it isn't. But I think in your own little head, instead of kicking yourself, think about it as lessons you learned and how you do better, and trust the journey, I think, is another really important point, because it's a roadmap and it really is a journey. And when I look back, and I'm looking back in your journey that you've shared with me, you got from here to here because of XYZ, but then you went here. And it's almost I think there is a map out there. You don't know what it is. All you can do is look back and connect the dots. But it's fascinating and so fun to me to be able to go back and look at that with people.
Thank you for the beautiful story. I just want to talk to you about your book, Undaunted. Why did you write it? And what do you want the readers to take with them when they're reading that book?
I think so often we live a life of the easy route. And even when things are going super well, and you can look at it in a lot of different examples. I mean, maybe you're inside of a company and you're growing up in that company and taking on a management position and then a vice president, and you do all of this all along the way. Maybe you become the CEO. You become less likely, the more sort of great stuff that happens, to go out and challenge yourself and be a little bit uncomfortable. Have maybe a little fear. Know that there could be some failure going on. And so many people have said to me over the years, like, you are okay with taking risks, or they've made big statements about entrepreneurs in general, how they're risk takers and, that's not them in some way. And how do you get that way? Or were you born that way?
I mean, you do seem like a unicorn.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's the stuff in between and how they consciously put themselves into situations that are really about seeking education, not just going back to school, but also not being afraid or sort of putting themselves into a room where they don't actually know anything. There are people out there that don't want to do that, right? That they want to actually be the smartest one in the room and the most knowledgeable person versus actually throwing themselves into a situation, no matter what their level is or their celebrity status or whatever. They want to go in and learn. And I think that those are the people that are the most interesting, the most, I would even venture to say, happiest in some ways, and the ones that live undaunted. It was interesting. I was on a call yesterday, and Ashton Kutcher was on the call and was a keynote. And it was interesting, some of the questions. I just wanted to hear him speak. And I know he's done a lot of angel investments in different things. And obviously, he's an amazing actor, right? It was interesting to hear him sort of talk about his journey and how he grew up on a farm in Iowa and around lots of cattle. And somebody had talked to him about some of these brands and products like Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods and some of the stuff that they're doing that obviously is kind of against cattle. At the end of the day, it's vegan, it's all of that. But in addition, it sort of goes against what he grew up in, sort of thinking that this is the way. And he's, I can't remember, he's an investor in one of the companies, but he talked about how he really was uncomfortable, like learning about this, because this is how he was raised. This is how his family made money. And I thought, here's the person that makes he could go and do a movie tomorrow, right? Like, it's just not. And yet he's put himself into positions and situations where he doesn't know. He doesn't understand. It goes against kind of what he's used to hearing. And again, that is living undaunted. That is somebody that is challenging themselves in some way, whether it's, physically or whether it's mental. I think that he's a great example of somebody that I see doing this and maybe not even conscious that he is doing it. But again, I think that there's so many people that don't do it, to your point, where it's just easier just to have things easy. And I think that is such an important thing that we need to realize about ourselves, that we are on this journey. And oftentimes we put ourselves into situations where we're going to go learn or we're going to challenge ourselves in some ways. And we learn a lot about ourselves. And that doesn't say that you're going to be successful. You may fail. You may have to, if you're going right, you may have to make kind of gut decisions and go left, but you're going to learn a lot about yourself and learn about probably what you're more capable of doing than maybe you had anticipated.
Wow. Tony Robbins says that all growth happens outside of your comfort zone.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I know in my life, every time I was very uncomfortable and I had a breakthrough. The more uncomfortable, the bigger the breakthrough.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's something that, we just don't think about. And I think we also live in a society where the older we get and the higher level we get and the more success we get, we're often put into a position, whether we place ourselves into that position, as I touched on earlier, or society does. And it's interesting because it takes a lot of courage to step away from that and go do something else. And I mean, even you and I met at Joe Polish's conference. I don't know. Was it really a conference or it wasn't really? It was a mastermind, right?
Yeah. Genius Network. Yeah. Mastermind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I heard that he was taking the year off to go and explore.
Oh my God. I'm like, this was like mind blowing. Like how it's almost like, how dare he? And wow, how dare he? Like in admiration.
But I mean, he knows that about himself. And I'm sure he's going to come back with all of these things that he learned about himself. And I think it's awesome on so many levels. So anyway, I run into people when you become conscious too of living a life of being undaunted. I think that's another piece that you notice it in other people. They may not call it undaunted, but then when they read my book, and as Joe has and picked it up, I mean, it's just they're enamored by it primarily because they believe in it, and that's what they want to be doing.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So how did you manage to create all this success and be a learner and go to all the conferences and speak and write a book and run this humongous company and being a mother? Like, how do you mix that? How do you work it out?
I think the most important thing is that you need to do what you love. And I think that is that finding that thing that you not only love, but, it's interesting when you're doing something that's valuable for other people, you do great work, but you also find time to do great work. And, it's fascinating. I didn't get this when my kids were really little, but what I learned actually later at another point I talk about in my book is my son, who's now 18. When he was 12, he saw somebody on television, Sheryl Sandberg, talk about the fact that there aren't very many women CEOs. And he said to me, not really conscious of kind of the nerve it was going to hit maybe, but he said, Mom, women aren't CEOs. Did you know that? And I thought, oh my gosh, where are we going with this? Right. And he said, I wonder why, because you do a great job and you've always been a CEO. And, of course I was like, wait, hold on a minute. And I said, well, thank you. That's very nice. And then the next day he came to me, plays a lot of tennis. And he came to me and he said, Mom, why do they separate the girls' tennis team from the guys' tennis team? There are girls on the girls' tennis team that are actually better players that I'd rather play with than some of the boys on the boys' team. And I said, well,
that's deep lesson. Right? Yeah.
And it was fascinating because I realized that just by being a mom and doing what I love and maybe doing what is not the most popular or what other people don't say is possible, that I can actually be that role model. And so it's interesting. I now believe that he will not only be able to work for women, but with women, if he chooses to be a father and, be a great dad to women, all of those things, because I'm actually, doing something not only that I love, but also has purpose.
Mm.
And I find the time to do these things. People have always said to me, do you talk to your kids about what you do? I don't not talk to them. I mean, they hear what I'm doing and how I'm living. And I mean, do I lock myself in a room and cry when Starbucks kicks me out? No, but did they know that Starbucks was kicking me out of the stores? You bet. They did. And it's a good lesson for them to learn and watch me kind of go through it. Will I get through it? You bet. And they should see those kind of things because life isn't always easy. And I think sometimes we set kids up for trophy every 4 seconds for something. And do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's not life.
Mm-mm.
And they can understand that there's going to be things that don't exactly turn out the way that they had thought. And it's okay. And there's lessons to be learned and all of those things. So I think that that is the biggest lesson that I've learned. This whole idea of, for years I was asked, and I love saying this to you as a new mother too, because for years I was asked, like, do you ever feel guilty? Do you, balance and, all these topics. And of course you do. You just sit there because there's so many people asking you.
I think no matter what, as a mother, whatever you're going to do, you're going to always feel guilty that you're not doing something different.
Yeah, but it's a powerful thing when the person that you felt, guilty about suddenly turns around and says, thank you for teaching and thank you for being and thank you for showing me. I mean, I think that somebody said, what do you want for your kids? And I said, I want my kids to be happy and find something that they like to get up and do every day. I have 3 in university right now, and I said to them, somebody said to me the other day, what's one of your kids majoring in? And I said, I don't even know. I mean, I don't even care, right? I just want them to be happy. And I think it's a great idea to get some kind of education. But they're choosing, they want to go to university. But I think that at the end of the day, I want them to find what they want to get up and do every single day. And that to me is success. And that's where happiness lies. The number of people I know who end up going off to law school because they think that they're going to make a lot of money and they're are not the happiest people. That's not to say that there aren't happy lawyers out there, but I think that the people who find passion and purpose
yes,
are the ones, and you can have a family too. That's the other thing. I had another child, Justin, I was pregnant with him when I birthed Hint.
That's beautifully said.
Right?
Yeah.
And I, share with people. I mean, it's funny. He read my book and he said, Mom, this is really funny. The day you were going to have me, you were getting Hint on the shelf. You birthed Hint before you birthed me. And, I said, that's right. And, it's pretty funny. So,
yeah. Wow, Kara, I really want to speak with you for longer, but I want to be respectful of your time. So before we go, 3 quick tips to living a stellar life, and where can people find you?
Yeah. So 3 quick tips. I would say that the first one is find that thing that you can visualize that you would enjoy working on every single day, even if it seems a little silly. Just start to think about, oh gosh, if I could do this every day. Is that baking? Is it developing a beverage? Is it doing yoga? I mean, whatever it is, find that thing that you want to do every single day and try and figure out, can I actually make money? Can I work? Can I live this way? I think that that's the most important thing. Second thing is know you're on a journey and that this journey today may not be exactly what you want. Maybe the last year isn't what you want, but think about the lessons and know that you've come this far and those challenges will only make you stronger going forward. And then finally, I believe that every day is yours to make a decision on whether or not you're going to be happy. And I think that figuring out how you get there, whether it's changing jobs, seeing a therapist, whatever it is, make the decision that you have to move forward in some way, exercise, whatever it is, in order to be a little bit selfish and get happier. And I think that that is so critical.
Wonderful. And where can people find you and get your book?
So the book is called Undaunted, Overcoming Doubts and Doubters, and it's lots of bookstores. You can see more about it at karagoldin.com with an I, and then the book is available there as well as Amazon. And it's Wall Street Journal, Amazon bestseller. Very, very exciting.
Amazing.
And Kara Goldin, I'm all over social as well, and I would love to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kara. Thank you so much. This was incredible.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you, listeners. Remember to find your passion, accept the journey and the lessons, and make a decision to be happy every day and have a stellar life. This is Orion. Till next time.
Thank you for joining me on my mission to light people up and change lives around the world. I hope today's conversation inspires you to step up, go after the life of your dreams, and be who you want to be. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go to stellarlifepodcast.com for show notes, transcripts, and other cool stuff. And please subscribe, review, and help spread the word by sharing us on Facebook and Twitter. Have a lovely day, and I'll catch you on the next episode.